Hi, I'm Chef Erin Roth. I'm the owner, founder, and executive chef of Mrs. Joe's Petite Eats Patisserie and Cafe here in Tysons Corner, Virginia. And today I'm going to show you how to make a lemon buttermilk pound cake. First thing I want to discuss is how to properly coat your pan. And we have that on a tips video on how to properly coat and prepare your pan for baking. Another tip that we have is how to make buttermilk. You will find that on an earlier video. And we also have a video on how to properly zest and juice a lemon. So without further ado, the first thing we want to do is cream our sugar and our butter. Alrighty, so you go ahead, and I do it on low for a few seconds to get it incorporated, and then I increase it till about medium, and I'm going to let that mix until it's light and fluffy, and it's going to change in color. That's how you can tell if you're creaming effectively. The color should be lighter than when you started. So while that is mixing, I want to go ahead and whisk my dry ingredients together. We have flour, we have butter, baking soda, and salt. So I want to go ahead and make sure that that's mixed properly before I pour it into the pan. Also too, I went ahead and made the buttermilk. I added in my lemon juice, my lemon zest, as well as my vanilla extract. Then I went ahead and just slightly beat my eggs, and it's 3 eggs. So while that is going, so what I'm going to do now is stop. The creaming is almost there, but I want to go ahead and make sure the mixture is mixing. So I'm scraping down the sides. And again, I'm not going from 1 to 6 fast. You do not want to strip the gears of your mixer. So I just go one at a time. And it's almost there. It's coming along real nice and white and light. Again, when you're creaming butter and sugar, it should start off one color and end up lighter. If it's not lighter, you're not doing it correctly. And it should be smooth and creamy. So also too, during this time, you should have already turned your oven on. And so I bake it a little different because I have a commercial convection oven and I have a dark pan. I bake at 300. I bake at 300 to ensure that I don't underbake or overbake my cake. And I want to, then that way I can dial it in. Because you want to make sure you don't overbake it or underbake it. So for a commercial convection oven, I do it at 300 low fan. And again, when you turn your mixer off, you don't go from 8 to 1 or 8 to 0. You go one at a time. You just dial it down. Alrighty. And as you can see, it's fluffy. It's almost white. It's a light ivory. So I want to go ahead and scrape the sides down and make sure the bottom is mixed. Then I go ahead and scrape the beaters down. Try to get much of it off the spatula as I can. Alrighty. So while that is mixing, I slowly add my eggs. Add a little bit at a time to make sure it's mixed well. Then I pour some more in. Because it's 3 eggs, I pour the equivalent of 1 egg at a time. And you want to mix it until you don't see any of the yellow of the yolk. So one thing I'm going to do is stop it and raise it. And I try to get everything out. So I'm going to go ahead and use my spatula and get all of that egg out. I don't like to leave anything on the table, but to get everything out. And while I have it up, I go ahead and, as you know it, scrape the sides down again. So now we're going to mix that well. Mix it on a low setting. Now I'm going to stop it. I'm going to add in a little of the flour, about a third. And about half of the buttermilk, lemon zest, lemon juice, and vanilla. On low. So what we don't want to do is overmix. Again. One-third of the mixture. And the rest of the buttermilk. Again, we're getting everything out. I don't like to leave anything on the table. Do it on low. Stop it and add the remaining flour. And while I'm having it up, I go ahead and scrape the sides down to make sure that it's mixed well. Always want to make sure you're scraping your sides down. That is one of the most overlooked things bakers do. Lock it. Then you want to go ahead and mix it until you see no more white. Now stop it. Take it off. Raise it. Scrape the beater down. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a video on how the proper tip on how to prepare your pan for baking. I like to use the sugar butter release method. Alrighty. So at this point, all I want to do is just make sure, scrape it down, turning, folding it a little, make sure that there's no more white. Make sure everything is mixed well, and it is. So here's our prepared pan. And what I like to do is make sure, one more time, is put it in dollops. Because it's not a runny batter. It is not a runny batter. It's a thick batter. So you put it in dollops around and make sure you sort of put it even around. And So make sure I get everything out of here. We don't want to leave anything on the table. Then I'm just getting another knife and scraping my rubber spatula down, get everything off it. Because again, we don't leave anything on the table. Yep, so at this point, all we're doing is smoothing it out. It's not that hard. All you do is get a knife, or you do an small offset spatula. You want to make sure it's pretty much even. You want to push it to the edge. So as it bakes, it rises and it'll evenly rise along the edge. So you want to make sure you push it out. Then you want to make sure you push it to the center as well. Make sure it's touching the center. Yeah. And this doesn't have to be perfect, because guess what? We flip it over until the serving dish. So at this point, this is what you get. So we put it in the oven and we bake it. And we'll be back. Hi, and welcome back. Now that our lemon buttermilk pound cake has cooled in the pan for about 15 minutes, and I've gotten a dull knife and I've gone around the edges to make sure that it'll come out fine. So we just put the cake pedestal, whatever you have, over it, flip it over, and there you go. Now we're not finished, so I made a lemon syrup, which is equal parts sugar and water. And all I'm going to do is just pour it over it. It's still warm, so it's going to take in a lot of, so just pour it over it. And don't worry about it falling to the side, that's fine. The cake will absorb it later. So you just want to pour it. This keeps your cake moist. Not that this needed it, but it definitely makes it keep longer if it's going to last longer than a day. Normally when I make this, it may last a day. So, alrighty. And then we have our melted butter. We have lemon juice, lemon zest, and 10X, also known as powdered sugar. So I am stirring this and get a little more liquid. So it depends on how thick or thin you like it. So you just want to whisk it really well. I just want just a tad bit more liquid, just a drop, maybe a couple of drops. And this is where you have to dial it in. Yep. All righty. You just go around and just let it gravity do its thing. You want to make sure that the inside gets love too. Everybody needs love. Just bring it around and that's why I said it depends on how thick or thin you want it. And there you have it, a beautiful, well-glazed lemon buttermilk pound cake. Isn't this lovely? So enjoy, And one thing, you don't have to keep this refrigerated, but I like to keep it cool because it's easier to cut. So, and then you can hide it from your family and friends too. But again, this is a lemon buttermilk pound cake by Chef Aaron Roth of Mrs. Joe's Petite Patisserie and Cafe. You will thank me later. Enjoy the rest of your day.